What I'm going to talk to you this morning about is how we create our reality. I've been, in a way, talking about that all along, but now we'll take it to a practical level. Principle number one, awareness is all there is. Awareness or consciousness is all there is. By now, I think we've said it enough times that that should be obvious. Number two, all experience is a modified form of awareness. We want to be really simple about it. We can say all experience is awareness. It's a modification of awareness, but it is all awareness. All experience. Principle number three, Renee, we should be writing this too because it's new in this format. Principle number three is experience occurs in the form of qualia. Okay? Qualia. Principle number four, qualia are qualities of awareness / consciousness in the form of sound, in brackets, hearing, comma, texture, in brackets, touch, color, shape and form, in brackets, seeing. They're the same thing. Seeing and color and form are the same thing. You can't separate one from the other, right? Flavor, in brackets, tasting. Fragrance, in brackets, smell. Instead of tasting, taste. Just trying to be as precise as possible. Okay, so experiences, qualia are in the form of, and then comma, feeling, comma, images, or you can say imagination, but same thing, whichever you feel, or you can say images in brackets, imagination. Or when you said feelings, or you can also say emotions, okay, in brackets, images and thoughts. All experience, next point, whatever that point is, all experience is the above. Next point. Experience requires awareness to modify itself as experiencer, experiencing and experience. On the sidebar, you can rephrase this as knower, knowing, known. Observer, observation, observed. Seer, seeing, scenery. Next point. I've forgotten the numbers, but it doesn't matter. Next point. The knower is as an individual is the self as formless being. By the way, if you want to use the word soul, you can for that, okay? Soul is the knower, observer, seer. So if you want to use that word, that's fine, but I think it's easier to just say the knower is formless being. In other words, the knower is witnessing awareness. In other words, the knower is witnessing awareness as formless being. The knowing is the activation of witnessing awareness into a modality or mode of knowing. What is the modality of or mode of knowing? It's the qualia that we already mentioned. And the experience itself is the sum total of qualia being experienced as a gestalt. Everybody understands that word, right? So it's the totality of qualia being experienced as a gestalt, as a totality of all the qualia mixed together, creating an object of experience. Next point. You're keeping tabs on the numbers. Next point. As human consciousness, we are human consciousness, we give names to qualia gestalts, and we call them objects. This includes the physical body. Rephrase. Strike that. Okay. This includes that which we call the physical body and that which we as humans call the physical world. there are qualia that do not constitute that which we call the physical world or the body, such as thoughts and their modified forms, including beliefs, and feelings or emotions. We don't include that as part of the physical world. We only include those qualia which are perceptions. These qualia, thoughts and feelings, and their modifications as beliefs, humans call the mind. What we call the mind is a qualia, thought or thoughts or feelings, right? Next point. In other words, mind, body, and universe are human constructs and symbolic representations of experience as qualia. If any of this is not clear, tomorrow we can ask me, but I'm going to make it practical, okay? So now, those are principles. Before we go a little deeper, just to elaborate on that. So when say this is a shoe, this is actually on the level of seeing, it is a color, a shape, a form. On the level of hearing, it's this. On the level of touching, it's this. And on the level of tasting and smelling, I'm not going to do it. Okay? You know what it is. Okay? So what is this as a shoe? It's a human construct for that experience. The word shoe is a label for that experience. That label, of course, is a thought. And if I really fell in love with my red shoes, that would be an emotion. Okay? In other words, this experience that I'm calling a shoe is a symbolic representation of the self differentiating into observer, observation, observed. Knower, knowing, known. Seer, seeing, scenery. The same principle applies to this experience called a hand. On the level of sound, it is this. On the level of seeing, it's a shape, color, or form. On the level of texture, it is this experience. On the level of taste and smell, it is this experience. The word hand is a construct. Human construct. No other species would know that we together agree to call this a hand. A dolphin or a giraffe or an insect wouldn't know this. This is the gift of being human, the fall from the Garden of Eden, the fall from grace, but also the creation of the human universe. Okay? The same principle that I applied to the shoe, to the hand, applies to my body, or that which I call my body, or that which I call flower, rainbow, seashore, sand, stars, galaxies, sunset. If I'm a scientist, electrons, bosons, neutrons, protons, bosons, and we give them names. Higgs boson, Higgs, because some smart Scottish mathematician, physicist said that's a particle. But the particle, as the name particle, is a human construct for a mode of experience, a very refined mode of experience through a microscope, or you might say an ultra-strobic super microscope, such as the Hadron Collider in CERN. It's still a mode of experience. So far I've just diverted from the principles. Now let's go back to the principles. The next principle, Renee, what is it? What's the number? Okay, whatever it is. So the next principle is, all qualia are inseparable and entangled with each other, since they are all qualities of the same awareness. So thoughts, feelings, images, perceptual experiences, sound, texture, taste, smell, fragrance, colors, shapes, they're all entangled and inseparable from each other. So if you influence one, you also influence the other. Some to a greater extent and some not to the same great extent. So if you ask yourself, what did I have for breakfast this morning? You have an image of what you had for breakfast. What, who you sitting with, that's an image. How did the breakfast, was it tasty? Yes, no. Did you enjoy the taste? Yes, it's a feeling. Enjoyment is a feeling. Right? So the thought of the breakfast is a memory. Where was that memory before I asked you to think about it? That memory existed as a virtual memory, not as an actual memory, till you thought of it. In the same way as I say, what you had for breakfast, I can say, do you remember your high school? Until I say that, or till you think about it, it's there, but you're not experiencing it, so it's a virtual memory. It's a virtual memory. All our memories exist as virtual memories in formless being. They have no form. But when we think about them, then they have a very subtle form. Thought, image, some feeling, even taste, smell, subtle senses. Well, what did you eat for breakfast? So, whatever, fruit. What fruit? Watermelon, papaya. There's a taste, smell attached to it. So it's a qualia. The actual experience of the breakfast is also a qualia. So perceptual experience instead of a mental experience. But they're all closely intertwined. Your mind is a set of qualia, your body is a set of qualia, and the world is a set of qualia. And you're generating them constantly in the experience that we call life. Because what is life? It's a continuum of these experiences, one after another. In every experience, that's a point, in every experience, in reality, there is a new knower, a new mode of knowing, and a new experience of the known. In other words, right now, the knower that you call me, I, is having a different experience than the sunset. So that knower is a modified knower. Why is it a modified knower from yesterday? Because every experience modifies your knowing. Every experience modifies your knowing as a result of memory. The first time you saw a sunset, it wasn't a label. Just red, all qualia. Wasn't a construct. So in every experience, there's a new you. Perceptually we can see that. You don't have the same body that you had as a teenager or a baby. You don't think the same thoughts, hopefully, as you did as a teenager or a baby. You don't have the same emotions, hopefully, because they're more mature, right? More refined. And you don't have the same personality. The you this moment that you call as the knower and the mode of knowing and that which is known is different in every experience. Different in every experience. What creates the illusion then that I'm the same knower, same knowing and same known is the continuity of memory. We have attached ourselves to the experiences we've already had. And we are constantly recycling those experiences. Sometimes, not sometimes, almost all the time, we're recycling them because of our attachment and interpretation of those experiences as thought. Interpretation as a thought, which are attached to feelings, images, sensations, sense experiences, because they're all entangled with each other, okay? This continued recycling of experience, if we want, we can call it karma. So in a sense, that's why karma is frequently referred to as bondage or a prison, because there is no freedom if you're repeating the same thing over and over again. Creativity or creative manifestation is, you can say, an escape, or you can say breaking down the walls of the prison called karma. I guess we lose the points let them go. We can make them up later. Okay, so creative manifestation or creative expression is the breaking down the invisible walls of karma. They're invisible, you can't see them, but of course you're enclosed. That's why, Rumi's great poem, he says, why do you stay in prison when the door is wide open? And the reason you stay in prison, even though the door is wide open, you can't see the door and you can't even see the walls of the prison. They're invisible. So creative expression is the generation of new qualia gestalts. A gestalt is a conglomeration or a collection of qualia, like the shoe, or the hand, or this body, or the sunset. Once we understand this mechanism, we also understand that our true identity cannot be knower, knowing, or known. Why? Because it's constantly changing, even though it appears to be the same through the continuity of memory. Or you may say memories that we have attached ourselves to. Memories, not even, don't say we. Memories that consciousness has attached itself to. Okay, so it creates the same cycle. To what purpose does consciousness manifest as experience? Why does consciousness manifest as experience? That's the question, and the answer is, it is inherent in consciousness to be conscious. And it can only be conscious of experience if it takes form. Can consciousness just stay in unmanifest? Well, on one level, it is already unmanifest. It can't be seen, it can't be touched, etc. It's totally formless, it's the background. We said yesterday, it's the background in every experience. Every experience is changing, but it's the background, non-changing background. So there is two aspects to consciousness. One, unmanifest as the background, and then manifest as its own self-interaction into knower, knowing, and known. Why? Here's a way to think about it. A perfectly balanced, a system in perfect equilibrium is not easy to maintain, right? It's dynamic and it's still. Consciousness is dynamic and it's also still, it's the background. Think of the analogy that Spira and others give, that you're watching a television program and the modulations that you see as the program are the screen modifying itself as electrons, photons, or whatever. So just like that, consciousness is the background in perfect equilibrium, but even though it's in perfect equilibrium, as soon as that equilibrium gets disturbed, it starts to manifest as the movie.